Hey, everybody. Welcome to Beyond the Booth. Howie Chaney here, along with Phil Harris and Northeast College soccer coach Tom Shanklin. Thanks for joining us, Tom. Oh, I think we've lost Tom.
He's kind of froze up there, and
Yep. He's got a little movement going on now.
yeah,
We just
maybe
finished, Phil, we
um,
just
Yeah,
finished
there we
with,
go.
we just finished with Jeff Flanagan talking about all this technology and everything, how great it was. And then sometimes you run into stuff like this.
shoot you in the tail. Yeah,
Yep. So, Tom, we got you.
Yes, sir. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes,
yeah.
sir. We got you. We're good. Uh, would you rather us call you Coach Shanklin, or how would you?
Coach Tom's good. That's the normal. So I'm pretty laid back. Everything but late for dinner. I'm good.
Yeah,
Hey, a man of my own heart. I see you right there,
yeah,
buddy. I'm with you
yeah,
right there.
yeah,
That's what people say. They're like, "What do we call you?" I'm like, "You can call me whatever you want to. Just don't call me late for supper."
yeah.
That's right.
So, Tom, thanks for joining us here on Beyond the Booth. We've had several people from Northeast on already, and we wanted you to get on here, starting up the soccer program at Northeast, and tell us a little bit about that, everything that you've had to do so far to be able to get this program up and rolling.
Well, it's it's been a year long process certainly. Uh, in a fledgling program, you're starting from scratch, so you're involved in field building and the dynamics of that, the recruiting and the building of the team, and then obviously ordering all the material that you're going to need to train and how you're going to outfit the athletes. And been a blessing to be out there at Northeast. Dr. Campbell really has and the administration as a whole has just welcomed us with open arms. And as far as I was concerned, aggressively recruited me, which I once again I don't know why, but I feel extremely blessed to be involved and to be a part of what they're doing. It is definitely interesting to have to start something from ground zero, because they had cross country boys and girls, they had golf boys and girls, and they had just cranked up softball. So really, athletics as a whole is something new that's coming back to Northeast, and I know that it has been a little bit of a curve because they're so widely known. From an academic perspective, they're highly ranked nationally. Is that's their pride and true. You mix in athletics to that, and it adds a definite twist to the whole dynamic of junior college life, certainly. So
You're talking about getting started from scratch. You're actually absolutely 100%. It's sort of like when Grandma was in the kitchen making biscuits or cooking a cake. There, you're starting from absolutely nothing and going to make a great program there at Northeast. So I know you want your fingerprints are all over the place when it comes to soccer. So, how is that working out for you so far? I know you said it's little odd, a little different, but how is it coming into something starting from scratch compared to going to, uh, let's say you was at Fort Payne there for a while and the program is already established. What's the big difference from scratch to established?
well, scratch is all the things that become a normal from a training perspective, and then how you're received by other colleges, because it's still a learning curve. As we traveled last Friday for our first game versus Northwestern in Fulton, Mississippi, and then played Itawamba at we played both games at Itawamba's campus. They were very welcoming. Showers are available. They've got their sound system set up. They've got live streaming going on. And all those things are things you don't necessarily think about until it's live and in action. Having the field constructed has been, it was originally anticipated the field would be completed on April 20th, and here we are, August 25th, and we're probably still maybe 30 days away from having our own home field. We've worked on the locker rooms. I mean, you're literally, I can't even explain to you. It's from nothing to something. And a lot of it you think you've got a handle on until you realize that you don't, so you're just constantly thinking of new things of what you need, how you need. And I keep going back to how we've been welcomed wonderfully, because they've supported us. They've provided us with everything we need. Jimmy Carlitis, that'd be a great guy to have on this show. He's a great athletic director. He works hand in hand with our administration, and he really goes to bat for you. He's an experienced coach. He's had a stint at Oregon and had a stint at Arizona State and UAB, and he really has seen and been around the college circuit enough to know the ins and outs. So he's been instrumental in helping us grow. Athletes are athletes. We're fortunate in our area, to be surrounded by a lot of quality soccer players. So, and I am fortunate enough, to be known in our area to a point where, that I've either coached them or I've seen them, competed against them, whether it be on club level or whether it be in high school level. And I always, have made a connection with those athletes. So, to bring them all together really has just been wonderful for me. Our recruiting class, I think has, I want to say 7 state championships, from Gunnersville to Collinsville to Southside. They all won a state championship this year, and I've got 3 players from Gunnersville, 2 from Southside, 2 from Collinsville, and so you're taking the best of the best from each individual high school locally, and giving them an opportunity that maybe they wouldn't have had, because a lot of those young men, go directly into the workforce, or they can't financially handle traveling 2 hours to play soccer, or for that matter, 2 hours to go play just on a club team, much less, to travel to go to college somewhere. So it's very fortunate, the area that we are in and the quality of athletes that we do have from a soccer perspective, for certain.
I'll ask one more question, then I'll turn it over to Phil. And you're traveling around, no home games yet. Not sure exactly when you'll have your first really home game, but traveling around all that. Do you have a little notebook that you're kind of taking notes of on all these away games? Like, hey, that's a pretty cool idea. Yeah, let's try to implement this. Or
100%.
Ooh, they're going to do the same thing that we're going to do, but after seeing it, I don't like it, and kind of scratch that part out.
Certainly, and I've been welcomed, by the other coaches, which is nice, because toured Wamba's facility, got some stuff. I've got a couple notebooks, and one notebook that I do sessions out of, and one notebook that I do recruiting and the do's and don'ts, and the things I've learned, and the things that I'd like to do, and the things that I've done that I don't like. And so I keep notes on all those kind of things, certainly. And obviously you're always learning. I don't, by any stretch of the imagination, do I feel like I've reached where I need to be. I'm reminded of that on the daily basis. So I'm constantly striving to learn more and what I can do better. And truthfully, it's what we tell the boys. It's like, point the finger at yourself first. You need to answer the call of what can I do better before you start asking what your teammates can do for you and or a coach. So if I'm not leading by that example, it'd be silly. I have seen a lot of things. Now, some of the things that I've seen could be budgetary restricted. I've not ran into a lot of no's, from our administration, as far as them humoring me on a lot of the stuff that we've been able to provide for the athletes. But I was telling somebody today, they've not hit the brakes, but I'm starting to smell a little smoke. So they might be on the brakes. I've not heard a no, and in the beginning I heard a lot of yeses, and now I'm starting to hear, well, what's that about? And do we really need that? And so there's just some things, and I get that side of it, because obviously there's a fiscal aspect to it. It is overwhelming. Obviously, just the field alone, our facility, we've been very fortunate. Fort Payne has and their municipality has allowed us to train, and we'll play our first 3 home games on the Fort Payne Sports Complex. I did a little shaking up of the schedule, so our next home game past these 3 would be on October 16th. So I've bought a little more time for us to tidy up some of our area. So I'm very thankful and fortunate on that aspect of it. But we are also so far in our construction project that it would be very difficult to change anything that we've currently set in motion. So we're very hopeful that we've made the right decisions in those areas, because whatever we've made and whatever we've done is pretty much sealed in the books, and we're looking forward to it being completed and making it our own, certainly.
So asking the AD and the president for a big old jumbotron on both ends of the field is probably out of the question right now.
Yeah.
There'll be no jumbotron, I can promise you that. But now we have our school up, so that's nice. And they've got a good setup. We have an athletic foundation that obviously we look forward, to people donating and helping out in those areas. I'm sure Dr. Campbell's looking forward to that, certainly from a recuperative standpoint. But he has not, he has absolutely given us 110 support. And I really, you see some of these athletes and you hear, because we're not the only startup program this year. Wallace State has started up a program. Calhoun has started up a program. So we're 3 first-year programs all starting in the same season. And I feel like we're in a really, really good position as far as from what I'm hearing. I'm very thankful to be where I'm at. I can tell you that.
Phil, if you will, start asking questions, because if I keep on asking, Northeast's going to be playing inside a stadium before it's over with. So, Phil, go ahead and ask questions.
Yeah, and you were talking about Jimmy Colitis. I plan to approach him next. That's for sure. And I want to get Dr. Campbell on too, if I can get him to come on. And that's like if you ask them questions now, like as much as going, hey, what about flag football in the future? They're going to say, hey, we've spent enough money right now. We need to get some return. That's what you were talking about.
We better we better get our feet underneath us first. I can hear that as a response.
Yeah, that's kind of what Joe Guthrie told me when I asked him about it. Hey, we've got to get, there's a lot going out, and we got to get some coming in. So that's kind of what he said. Do you ask some advice from Coach Guthrie, because he was in the same boat you were, a lot of moving parts, not just coaching a football team and putting together a roster, but you see the stadium being built. You look at it every day, and you want it to get done tomorrow. And he was kind of the same way with the softball and all. So, it kind of gets a little bit nerve-wracking because there's a lot of distractions there. And then you've also got to concentrate on coaching the team, getting them to where they've got to be. So there's a lot of moving parts. Now, last week you played your first 2 games. I think you tied 2-2 against Northwest College. And then how did you do against Ottawa? Did you hear me? Did you hear me, Coach?
Coach, are you there?
Etowamba with about 12 or 13. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah.
You kind of froze up for a second. Sorry about that.
Yeah,
If you could start over about that.
Okay, got me?
Yeah.
Well, and I'm gonna move here. So we were down 4-3 with about 12, 13 minutes left, and we clanged one off the post. So in my mind, I thought, hey, we're going to be known as the tying team. But when we clanged that one off the post, about 5 minutes later, Etowamba came back and scored a backbreaker to make it 5-3, and that's how the contest finished, with 5-3. So we've recorded a tie, recorded a loss, and there's only one more column we're looking to record in.
Yeah, I understand. Well, and the thing is with all this, and I think one of the worries too, and I think it was for Coach Guthrie, is have I prepared these kids enough? Have I put together a good enough roster? Have I crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's that we're going to be competitive. And once you got on the field and saw that your team was competitive, kind of takes a little bit of the pressure off.
Yes, certainly does. You know, that first game we had an early bobble. Northwestern scored was 16 seconds into the match. And I don't know if you can prepare a team for their first ever collegiate game. I was looking across through them, you know, before we did a final breakdown, saw a lot of wide-eyed young men that were definitely full of nerves. You know, I tried to check everybody, you good, you good, and I got positive answers, but when we stepped on the field, I don't think they were ready. So the first 20 minutes was a little bit of a debacle. And one of the first goal was horrific. So, you know, that being said, then 20 minutes after there was a water break, got to talk to them for about, 2-3 minutes. They went back on the field and absolutely dominated, scored 2 goals to come back, had a couple opportunities for some game winners, but I couldn't be more proud of them, because obviously that's a big step for a lot of these young men. They've played soccer their whole life. Don't get me wrong. And it's still just the game. It's not like they're new to the game, but I think, when you get the experience, when you get, the magnitude of the moment that, hey, I'm fixing to step on and realize my dream to play, collegiately, the sport that I love, it was a little overwhelming for several of them. But then once they settled in, it was great. And I feel like the second game we started off much better. We held Itawamba past 16 seconds, which is a big positive. And then to be in the mix for them. I mean, there's 12 Mississippi teams in our division, and Itawamba would be, in the top 4 of those. So from a quality perspective, they're one of the better Mississippi teams. So I feel like a 5.
Oh, he froze up.
Froze up.
3, although it's a loss for a first-year program, is a positive result. For us to be able to score 5 goals in our first 2 games, huge. Okay. Am I back on here?
Yeah, you are. Yeah, because I think when you're first starting out in your program, when you first start out in a program, you're probably thinking, am I going to have to kind of sort of play a defensive game, 1-0, 2-1 type of game?
I've never been that coach. I want to play the hardest competition we can play, because I'm a firm believer in iron sharpening iron. And so I'm not going to sandbag a schedule or, put a couple softies out there early. I want to play the best, because ultimately, if our aspirations are to be conference champions, if our aspirations are to go into regionals, then we're going to have to face those teams at some point or another anyway. Also, I'd love to be exposed, because it's hard to fix a problem if you don't know what the problem is. So I want to play those teams that are going to expose our weaknesses, so then we can go on to the training ground and work on those things that they might have potentially exposed. That's just sort of my philosophy. I don't want to sit back and let them bring it to us and us, hope. Now, if we're playing Daytona State, which is a good example, and we'll play them, I've got them scheduled towards the end of September. I think they're defending, national champs at the JUCO level. They're definitely high quality. They've got, 18 Floridians, and the rest of their squad's composed of international players. That might be a game where I try to minimize the damage and go into a defensive mindset and look to counter. Because we've got some speed up top. We've got Adam Shoemate out of Gunnersville, who is the career leading goal scorer for the state of Alabama. Just finished his career high school with Gunnersville with a state championship. And of the 5 goals we scored so far this season in 2 games, he scored 3 of them. So he definitely, is a speedster. He has a nose for goal. I think we've got the pieces of the puzzle. We've just got to work a little harder on defense and a little bit more on wing play, and we'll have less goals scored on us and score more goals. So that's where I'm at. I don't like to sit back. I'm an offensive-minded coach. I want to see goals. I want to create excitement. I want us to put pressure on the other team.
Well, I guess early on you're kind of more of a coach-driven team, but these early road trips gets these guys to where they get to know each other a little better. They've got to spend time together. They've got to eat together. They've got to ride a bus together. So bringing these guys together will make them a lot better communicators, which will make them a more player-driven team. And I'm sure that's what you're looking for.
Got to have it. They can only listen to Coach Tom for so long. Yeah. And I promise you, they get tired of that real quick. Because I am hard on them. I'm hard on the boys. I also love them. I love them tremendously. So, I give both sides of the coin to them, but it's only because of my expectations are so high. And a lot of them ultimately, they've never been pushed like this. They've, if you don't expect a lot out of somebody, then it's, then you may not be driven to achieve 100% of your potential. My expectations for what they can achieve is far beyond what they've understood up to this point. I promise you. Because ultimately, there might be 5% of them that go on to play to 4 years. There might be 1% of them that actually go on to play professionally. But they're all going to be husbands. They're all going to be employees. They're all going to be employers. So there's quite a few life lessons that I try to mix in there. So because I know that that's going to be applicable in their lives, regardless of how long they play or if they play for that matter. So.
Well, Coach, I want to turn back clock a little bit. Of course, you are from Fort Payne. You went to school at Fort Payne. Tell us a little bit about your athletic background, what got you into coaching, and those type of things.
Well, certainly, I played soccer in my youth. Started when I was probably 10 years old, was on several travel teams. Alabama sanctioned the sport of soccer in 91, or they sanctioned it in 90. I played high school in 91, 92. The great Tommy Geis. More of a biology teacher than a soccer coach, but, was very thankful for him to be there for us. Great man, truly great man. And I got into coaching just like any father would get into coaching. My daughter wanted to play soccer, and I said, sign me up. I'll be the coach. I'll be the one to be there for her because I knew soccer, Now, I will say this. I went 0-10 that season with a bunch of kindergarten little girls. That was brutal. So I came to the quick conclusion I better get better at coaching if I was going to stay in the game. And then just a love and a passion driven, to get back to the community. I wanted our community to have a solid youth program. Sat on the board several years, in our Fort Payne recreational. Got into clubs, started achieving my licenses, national goalkeeper license, Class D level coaching certificate. It's just something that I truly love. I watch games. My poor wife has to, sit there and watch more soccer than she'll ever care to watch. I promise you. And as I started going through the ranks, I started gravitating towards the more competitive teams. And what I found out, and this sort of is the same thing I said a second ago, when you believe in your athletes and they start believing in themselves, they give you more than they ever thought possible. And you start to see somebody who may look at the world as insurmountable or that they don't have the chances or opportunities that other people have. And you get them away from that and believing in themselves and how they carry themselves, and how they interact with other people, whether it be administration, professors, teachers, within their circles. It really uplifts them and gives them the confidence and courage to do things in life that they normally would not think that was possible. So that's sort of the background on the why I feel like it's a calling for me, to work with these young men. And so I truly feel like I've been called in this fashion and manner. And I've done it at every age level. I've done it, from 5-year-old little girls, little boys, all the way up to now. In club, I was U19, Division I coach, and then all the way up now to collegiately, which obviously collegiately spans, from 17-year-old that hasn't hit his 18th birthday to potentially 24-year-old that just sort of lost a couple of years there in between, and now's come back and wanted to get his associate's degree.
Yeah, that's a great thing. And I guess, Tom, your background starting from kindergarten up, so you wasn't intimidated by moving from the high school level to the college level because you've worked your way toward that, and I guess you felt like, hey, I can do this.
Well, when you coach at those highly competitive club levels, it's sort of the same mix, because you're taking the best of the best from all your surrounding areas and creating one team. Same thing at this college level. You're taking the best of the best and you're creating sort of an all-star type scenario. And I certainly was. If there was any intimidation about transferring from high school athletes to collegiate athletes, after the first couple of days, it was long gone, because there's still a bunch of dumb kids half the time. They're the same kids that are goofing off and doing. They're still children. There's magically mature when they graduate high school. I can testify to that for certain. They are still the same young men that you're trying to get. Yes, some may have more maturity than others, but not by much, I promise you.
Yeah, they still make the same mistakes over and over and over again. Yeah.
That's right. Same mistakes, same goofiness, same old.
Well, I want to ask you about this. Yeah. I want to ask you about this. Your wife, Tanya, my wife knows Tanya, and of course, you've got 2 children, Arden and August. How a wife? I mean, in any kind of situation, even in what I do, my wife's a widow on Friday nights on scoreboard. How important she is to you? I mean, she supported you all these years, and even talk about her now. What is her role now that you're the coach at Northeast? Because a lot of times, a wife is very important to a college coach.
Well, certainly she's my number one fan. We'll be married 32 years. September 11th is our anniversary, so that's right around the corner. And it's funny you say that, because I have a game on September 11th. So there goes the anniversary night. That's sort of off. She's my biggest fan. She's my biggest supporter. She uplifts me when I'm down. She's an encourager. And as far as the boys are concerned, she, as most mothers, is a protector. I've already mentioned I'm extremely hard on these boys. And when my wife's in the environment, she traveled with us on the bus, she's the protector. She loves on them. She protects them from big bad Coach Tom. The demeanor changes, certainly. And she's just, I couldn't ask for more. I know the hardship aspect of it's certainly there, because it used, in high school season, I missed her birthdays, my daughter's birthdays. In younger years, I missed my daughter's games. I missed things in order to be with the boys. And this is now a transfer. I'm no longer will miss birthdays per se. Now I'll just miss anniversaries.
Yeah.
I'll miss those, you know. So, but she gets it, and she truly understands that I'm supposed to be. You know, obviously we believe in sovereignty, divine sovereignty, and so when doors are open, then we have the opportunity. We have to step through those doors in order to live out our calling. And I have been very fortunate to be able to affect many, 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 many young men. I still communicate with so many of my ex players that call, you know, they check in with me. I go to their weddings. I celebrate the birth of their children. I mean, those are bonds that have been created that certainly broken. This is just another layer of those bonds that are being created. Now we'll celebrate, you know, graduating with associates or transferring to, you know, a 4-year institution where they get to play, or getting their first job, or, you know, all those bonds are still continuing to be created. And her involvement in that is basically, you know, to make sure the boys are loved, hugged on, not always, you know, not always just pounded into the ground from a training perspective. Uh, she's a light for a lot of them. I promise you, as much as for them as she is for me.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
obviously,
you know,
yeah.
I guess basically what you're saying is the way the good Lord created us. A woman is what a man's not. You know,
Correct.
she has her role, and it's very important. You know, of course, that's what family life. That's what makes it work, and that's what makes a marriage work. Of course.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely,
Well,
absolutely.
yeah.
32 years, you know, we've been able to keep it glued together, and I'm not saying that it's been just roses and rainbows, but definitely leaning on one another and trusting in one another and coming to one another with your problems, your anxieties, and all those things, you know, are what keeps it glued together. Certainly.
Yeah, definitely so. You know, hard times is what, you know, can really a lot of times makes you closer together. And that, you know, that's the way it is in my position too. But Coach, getting back to Northeast, your recruiting base, I know you've talked about recruiting a lot locally. Is that what you're going to focus mostly on? Is recruiting locally? Of course, I know you're probably going to reach out, but also like Coach Guthrie talks about, there's people outside of what you would call a recruiting area that's interested in Northeast. So are you seeing that also?
I am seeing that I get a lot of reach out. Now, when I was recruiting originally, you know, I had a lot, you know, from Florida reach out. They were looking. I had 3 boys that I thought I might get, you know, but obviously parents don't want them to leave home and you know, go 6-7 hours away to a new experience. They prefer that, you know, within striking distance, I call it, to where they're still available if needed, if something goes wrong, or, you know, if they have problems, that the parents can still easily access their children. So I do see that there is a pretty wide range, but I also feel like uh, the group that I brought in, you know, is, I feel like the name community is in our name. So that's where we need to start, is in our community.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're also extremely blessed with a talented bunch of soccer players in our community. Now, if we weren't, then obviously I still have to produce. So then that might change my mindset. But even with the talent that we have locally, I pulled a couple boys from Thompson High School. I got 3 transfers from Enterprise. I got 1 transfer from Holmes, Mississippi. I got 2 young men from down there in Dale County, Dothan area. So yeah, I mean, I pulled several from our community. 3 from Boaz, 3 from Gunnersville, uh, 3 from Fort Payne, 2 from Collinsville, 2 from Albertville. You know, I pulled a lot of those. Like I said, 2 from Southside, 1 from Gaston City. I pulled a lot of those athletes, but I also reached out a little bit. But I tell you truthfully, and it may be one of the reasons that swayed me not to ultimately decide on the young men from Florida. I want to showcase what Alabama has to offer. We're Alabama Community College, and we've got talent in this state. And I want us to showcase the talent that we have in this state. So I start out riding that search to a state line to state line, and as I get results are going to dictate a lot of this. If I go out here and bomb it this first year and realize that I need to be looking, because the couple teams that I've faced, I'd say their average height was knocking on 6'1". I've been involved with the Latino community for a couple decades now. Not a ton of 6'1"ers running around in the Latino community.
Yeah.
So I mean, our average heights might be 5'9", which is all well and good talent wise, but when you're going up for a header, you're going to contest the ball, and you're going up against a 6'2" guy that weighs $190, and he's going up against a 5'6" guy that weighs $140. There's a difference there. It's just an inertia difference. So that side of it, I want to stay true to the state. I want to stay true to our community. I want to uplift and give opportunities to our young men locally, because ultimately I view it as cyclical, right? So if I bring them up and treat them the way that they should treat others and give to them what I've been given to, then my game plan is to raise these young men then to in turn give back to their community. So if I can get that cycle going like that, to where, okay, look, we're going to attend events. We're going to do things to raise money for, like we did a dragon boat race in Scottsboro that was for the Scottsboro Hospital and a food providing company for children. We did those things, and they need to understand why we sacrifice, a full Saturday or a full weekend. We do that because we're helping others in our community that may be less fortunate. Well, if I can get all those boys then just to help others that are less fortunate, how are we changing the dynamic of our community? That's why I feel like it's important to stay local as much as I can, because a lot of these young men are breaking cycles just by going to college, first and foremost. So we're breaking barriers there. Now can I get them to understand it's less about me, and it's more about helping others, and what not only the people that you're helping get out of that, but ultimately what you get out as an individual when you're helping others. It's life-changing, certainly. And when they experience that, I feel like we're building stronger, closer knit, taking care of our neighbors type communities, which in turn we all know that leads to thriving, successful areas and places to live.
Yeah, and I think, and a lot of what to kind of piggyback on that is you're giving opportunities for kids to come to play Northeast, to play soccer, and a lot of them might not have ever played if it wasn't for that. And and it's kind of like when I was talking with Coach Guthrie, you say got a player from, let's say, Fort Payne, and they don't know, am I going to go to work for Howe? Am I going to go to Jacksonville State, teach? What is it I'm going to do? I really don't know. And sometimes life makes the decision for them. But if they get an opportunity to come to Northeast and play soccer, their horizon broadens. They may get out there and they may like video study. They may decide they want to be a coach. They may want to teach at the college level. It changes their perspective by just being in a college environment, because every player they play with more than likely are goal-oriented and are headed for success.
Yeah. Well, certainly, if you have one option, which one are you going to choose?
Yeah.
If you have one option, you're choosing that option. If you were able to give them three options, that may be more than they ever thought they could have. Then you get in an environment like this, and I'm just telling you, Northeast is such a wrap your arms around you. How can I help you? what can I help you? How can I help you to be successful? What are your dreams? What are your aspirations? What can I do to make this journey that you're on easier and better and catered to what you want to achieve in life? And that goes from the student advisors to the people that help with financial aid to the athletic director. It goes all the way to Dr. Campbell. Uh, when and let's be honest here, you may not be in a great environment at home. You may have a dad that wakes up and works, and he works all day. He comes home, he's tired. It may not be this great environment. So inside your family, you may have a family where your mother and dad love you. Their way of showing you that they love you is, okay, I put food on the table. You got a house, you got a roof over your head. That's me showing love to you. And you come out to a location like a Northeast where literally you're surrounded by people that love you. They want to see you be successful. They want to fight for you. They want to show you different things and expand your mind on what are the possibilities in life. It's definitely an eye-opening experience because a lot of them come in guarded. They're not used to it. And then they start to relax and they start seeing that their best interest is truly being taken into consideration. And you can see the softening of hearts is the best way for me to say that. Softening of hearts would be the best way.
Well, and you talk about recruiting locally, so that means you're going to have families that have, local families. And some of these kids that live out of town, say the one from Mississippi, don't have a lot of places to go. So one of
Right?
these players is probably going to take him under his wing, carry him home for supper one evening. Then he gets to know this person and that person. And, when you went, say, if you went to Fort Payne High School, you got the same friends. But then you go to
Right.
college, it all changes and you got to get
Yeah.
to know new people. So, that all kind of works in hand at the college level. And that's why I think college is so important. If kids don't go to college, they should go in the military.
Right. Right. Gives them that mix. Learn the
Yeah.
camaraderie. I will say this: playing for Northeast Alabama soccer is very close to military at times. My assistant coach is Steve Cornelius, who spent 20 years in the National Guard. He served over in Iraq. Great guy, just wonderful person. Uh, but now you talk about letting the boys know, what they need to do and where they need to be from a fitness perspective. He lets them have it. Now, on the flip side of that, he loves them too. But it's a matter of raising that bar and your expectations of these young men. A lot of them have never been held to a standard like this. And some of them you'll lose to attrition. Uh, we lost, we started the season out with 32, went down to 28. We're back at 30 with the last minute couple signings. And, but it's not for everyone. We do love the area. We love the fact that they've given us the opportunity, but it does boil down to that if you have to want it for yourself. We can't want you to want it. You have to want it for yourself. And that's a little bit of a maturity aspect to this that has been certainly eye opening. Because I figured, but when they realize that you've got our preseason workout, had them running up to 8 miles every other day. There's a lot of fitness tests that they've gone through that, in the beginning they failed. And it asks a lot of them. Even dietary restrictions, right? You've got these athletes and they're used to running by, this fast food joint or that fast food joint and drinking Cokes and Dr. Peppers and everything else, when you start asking them that you're not supposed to be doing these things, your dietary restriction dictates that you're 90% of your your intake is water, and your food intake needs to be, high protein, so that you're refueling your body. Because when you ask somebody to run 8 miles every other day, and in every competition they're going to run 7 to 8 miles, then you got to really
I think we lost him. I think he's in between
be careful
services.
on
Still
what you're
catching
feeding into that machine, because it'll break down on you if you're not having the proper dietary restrictions.
Well, Coach, I guess too, also in that is plenty of rest. Well, they freeze
Coach,
up.
You still with?
Yeah. Are you just cutting in and out?
He's making a move. I hear the beeping of the car.
Yeah.
Yeah. While he's making adjustments there, Phil, I remember hearing back several years ago, hearing the study. Yeah, we got you. I was just telling Phil that I remember hearing a study back several years ago where the average soccer player will run 10 miles in a match.
You got me back?
Yeah,
I think so.
You back with me?
Yes.
Sir.
You hear us?
You got us, Coach? Coach, you got us?
I see him, don't hear him. You hear us, Coach?
Coach, you there? The world of technology. When it works, it's great. When it don't, it's not good.
Yeah.
So
definitely so. Yeah, I was going to ask you. You get back
Coach,
in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm asking about kind of I want to ask about the future. What kind of sort of what the goal
7 to 9 is on average. Yeah, collegiately that actually bumps up because in a high school game you play 80 minutes. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes.
I do have you. Can you? I do.
Yes.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, this is so hard.
No, Coach, we got you. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Coach, you're good. Go ahead.
There we go. Got Phil back. Yeah. You got me?
Yeah, we got you.
Coach, you there? We got you. Go ahead. Coach, are you there?
Rough. It's not having it. Okay. Goals, future. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Kind of goals for this kind of rest of this season. I know wins or losses are not the most important thing, but you want to get better each week and naturally by the end of the year.
Coach, I don't know if you hear me or not, but if you could leave the studio and then I'll bring you right back in, maybe that will help. There you go. Maybe he heard me, so maybe he'll be back here in a second. But yeah, I know he heard the part about the 10 miles because that's what he was chiming back in on. 10 miles, I think he said like professional, and then on the high school level it's probably 7 to 9 miles because of the time difference. I think they play 45 professionally, and I think he said 30 a half. That is 45 minutes a half, and I think he said high school probably 30 minutes a half.
So I don't see how I couldn't handle it.
Yeah,
I can't handle all the running.
he was talking about them running 8 miles every other day or whatever. I don't think I walk 8 miles in a whole year, to be honest.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, it's tough. That is tough. But that's what it takes in that sport. You see these guys; they'll play an entire match and they'll run out of the stadium. They still got energy. I don't see how they do it, but somehow, some way they do.
Absolutely, and I know they're looking forward. I know they're excited about playing, but I know they're a little disappointed to having to play all those away games at the moment, and a
Mhm.
little behind on their stadium. And hopefully, they'll get it going up and going pretty soon, where they can actually play some true home games. We
Yeah,
got
yeah.
Mr. Tom back. Let's see what happens when we
Well,
bring him on. Tom, we got you.
All right, maybe it's clear. How is it?
yeah.
Yes, sir. Hammer
We hear
down.
you.
All right. Well, I think you were in the process of asking the questions. I don't really even know where I was at.
Yeah, well, a couple of things, Howie made the comment on, how many miles, the kids run up to 10 miles in certain levels. And then, of course, I was going to throw in and ask, kind of what are the goals throughout this season in your first year?
Well, right now the current goal is to get a dub. That's that's a starting point. Ultimately, I have pretty high expectations. When I came into Fort Payne High School in 2011, me and Michael Farmer, co-head coach there, for years, like we've talked about, and in our first year we won a state championship. So obviously my goal is to win a conference championship. I feel like I'm holding my own because I hear from the other coaches. I'm in a constant state of learning. So when we finish a game, I always reach out to the opposing coach and say, okay, what'd you see? What's your thoughts? What are the things that you liked? What are the things that you didn't like? Those kind of things. And I have received nothing but positivity. They're floored, honestly. And a lot of times you would think, that, well, that's just him being kind. But then when your wife is sitting across the other side and having, conversations with the coach's wife, and the coach's wife is saying, well, no, I can't believe y'all are a first year program. I mean, my husband struggled, for the first 3-4 years, and it was just an extremely difficult task. And that gives me encouragement. Also, fair amount, you can do all the coaching you want to do, but until the boys buy in and believe in themselves, you're just a coach, because you can't go out on that pitch and make it happen. Those athletes have to go out on that pitch and make it happen. So goal wise, W definitely I hope is in my near future. And then I would love to be competitive in the conference tournament at the end of the season. I would certainly like to end the season as a top 2 in our conference, and then hopefully win that conference tournament to give us a bid into the regional championship.
Well, Coach, I want to ask this. This may sound crazy, but I just kind of sort of popped in my head. A first year program, it's kind of sort of like us against the world. Does your team kind of have a motto?
I don't know. Well, I guess the motto that, and this is, many conversations that we have are life lessons. And I guess they've latched on to this one, and that's no rotten apples. Because we have the conversation of, you can't put a rotten apple in a bundle and expect the good apples to make the rotten apple good. So what they've latched onto is that as a team, they want to all have no rotten apples. They want to work together as a team and be a healthy team. That and the other thing I'd say is, and this is yet another sort of life lesson, we always point our finger at ourselves first. So, when you're getting onto a teammate because he made a bad pass or didn't make the run that you wanted him to make, you got to point the finger at yourself and be like, well, hey, I need to do better. I need to do better. So if I were going to sum it up, I'd say no rotten apples. And I would say, if everybody's response to any constructive criticism or correction were to be, I'll do better, then that would be what I'd say we're putting hanging our hats on currently, certainly.
Well, Coach, and another thing is too, how I wanted you done mention one of your assistant coaches. Are there other assistant coaches you have? Because these folks are, that you have behind the scenes are unsung heroes, so to speak. They kind of sort of make the program go.
Yeah, we're fortunate to have the assistant coach we have.
Yeah, the one. Yeah,
one, and he's just an administrative dream. Just in our small interaction here, you see how technologically I am challenged, and he is not. He absolutely is on it. He keeps us on time. He keeps all the I's dotted and the T's crossed. And over and above our team, we have 3 wonderful managers, that are also students out at Northeast. They're very supportive. But to carry it even farther, because there is so many different aspects. There's the academic, there's the study halls, we're surrounded by an administration, and I can't say this enough, that truly wants to see every single person on that campus, whether they're an athlete or just a student, be successful in whatever they want to be successful in. So I liken it to a family. It truly is like a family. We all come together. We all sort of keep each other in between the lines. We call each other out when it's necessary. And, we be adult enough that if we're called out, that we answer with, I'll do better.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand. Well, and I know I want you to tell, if a young person or young man is interested in playing soccer, wants to come to Northeast, how's the best way to get recruited or reach out? Because it's about building relationships most of the time. You get to know these kids, and there may be a diamond in the rough that maybe approaches you. And also the academic part of it, there's not those huge restrictions. The good thing about junior college is you bring people in that maybe struggle in the classroom because they've not been very disciplined, but y'all have it wide open for them where they can become successful, because sometimes that keeps them from going to 4-year schools.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times that's the reason they're coming to us and not to a 4-year school. I do say that Northeast holds a higher than most. I think the NGACC, you're required to have a 2.0 or better to be in competition. At Northeast, it's 2.5. So the standards are higher academically. If they're trying to get noticed, then I think 2 to 3 minute film clips emailed to me. We start a dialogue. I get your schedule. I go to your club games. I go to your high school games. I start to get to see you. What stands out most to me in a lot of athletes is the random text messages that aren't revolving around something, an alternative motive. When they just say, "Hey, coach, just touching in, my club season's starting, but I wanted to see how y'all are doing. I wanted to see, how you're handling the first year," because they're being intentional in building that relationship, which then in turn tells me they're a good teammate, they're coachable, they've got a certain level of class that exceeds the me mentality. So that's the ideal way to catch my eye, certainly. Being a good soccer player, I'm going to see that in the clips. I'm going to talk to their coaches, because coaches spend an amazing amount of time with these guys. There is a stat out there, I don't remember it, but a coach is going to be around their athlete much more often than even the parents in a lot of instances. So they're going to know, and they're going to see the good, the bad, and the ugly. So for me to hear from their coach, who's like, "Hey, great player, absolute good player, keeps preaching good player, good player, good player," and then I get into, well, how's his grades, or how's his attitude, or How does he handle losses? How does he handle pressure? And they start waffling a little bit there. You start to find out, and some players are so good you're willing to take that risk because there's a fine line between the edginess of a quality player and your ability to harness that. And some coaches don't want to harness that. But at a JUCO level, you're more apt to say, hey, I can change this kid's life. I can maybe change his attitude. I can maybe, help him mature to a stage to where he can step on that bigger stage down the road. So that's the best way to catch my eyes. Just be intentional. I don't want to see, a 40-minute game. I don't have time for that. I'm literally getting, 20 emails a day of kids wanting to do this or wanting to do that, and wanting to play. And it starts off in the email if it's my name that you're emailing to, because there's a fair amount of copy and paste that goes on, and they spam out, 20 emails to 20 different coaches.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's just the reality of it, right?
Yeah.
I have the time to watch full film. I want to see highlight clips. I want it to be distinct. And I don't necessarily want to see you on the ball all the time. I want to see, how you track runs. Do you make drive runs if you're a striker? Do you make runs to pull other teams' defenses out of position knowing you're not going to get the ball? Because that's an unselfish play that I'm looking for. So, there's just different things. Ultimately, you're correct. The connection is a big aspect of that. Because if I'm going to spend literally on any given week at this point, I'm spending 50, 55 hours with these athletes. I'm going to want to be somebody that I can hang out with and get along with.
And I hear that a lot. People will say, well, he plays his favorites. And I'm like, yes. And I'm going to tell you why. Because he trusts those kids. You may not be the best athlete on the field, but if he trusts you, you're going to see more playing time.
Right. True story.
Yeah. Well, one more thing, and I'll turn you over to Howard because I know I want to get you out of here, and we appreciate you coming on. And you've talked about Dr. Campbell and, of course, Jimmy Colitis, and I've heard a lot of people say now, recruiting is, something that you don't have a lot of money for. It's not a big, huge budget for it. But I've also heard you do your best to try to get these kids on campus because I've often heard that Jimmy is a salesman. He can close the deal. He is very good at that. Is that true?
Yes, sir. He's down to earth. He's relatable. He's not stiff, and these kids are coming in, with a fair amount of fear. It's new for them. They don't know what to expect, and he has a wonderful way of disarming them, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Makes them feel comfortable, makes them, feel like, hey, I'm not the boogeyman. I'm not out to get you. I'm here to help you. And so he's very down to earth, and so he is a finisher. There's no question about it.
Well, Howie, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Coach, we appreciate your time. Sorry we had some technical difficulties a little bit earlier, but hey, we finally got it worked out, and great to have you on. And we're looking forward to having you on again later on. And we want to come up there and see that stadium once you get it going and see a home game up there. So I'm looking forward to that.
I'll look forward to that, and I'm thankful for y'all to have me on. It's obviously something I'm extremely passionate about, and I'd love to share it, and I want it to get out there that there are opportunities here that you may not think are possible, but they are possible.
So you mentioned earlier about kids coming from Florida, them with it being within striking distance. Was that a little bit of a soccer pun because of the striker being on the team as well?
Because I know as a parent, my children, are 31 and 25 respectively, and as a parent, you want to always be able to help, right? You always want to be right there, available to them when they fall. from when they're little bitty and they scrape a knee, you want to be able to pick them up. So I get that aspect of it because it's a big step in these young men and young women's lives. If they're going to play softball or whatever they're going to do, the farther they're away from home, I promise you, their mothers and their fathers worry about them. They want them to be, close proximity. And then it also varies from the athlete. Some of them want to be far enough away where they can't be bothered.
Yeah.
Too. So mixed bag, but certainly, I thank y'all for having me on. It has been truly a pleasure, and great to speak to both of you. Certainly.
Hey, we're going to have you back on eventually, very very soon. And my last question, we'll let you get out. You spoke about your assistant coach, and you're going to all these away games. How are you getting to the away games? Who's driving you? Who's driving the bus there?
Chris Peak, wonderful gentleman that runs the CDL portion of Northeast program. My first interaction with him was this weekend, and he's just about as laid back as a gentleman you'll ever be around. Flawless driver, great personality. Always extremely helpful, very low maintenance, to the point to where we were like, hey man, what do you want to eat? And, I'll just take whatever. We're like, no, man, you're driving the bus. You get what you want to eat. But he's a very humble guy, great guy. I've enjoyed our interaction with him up to this point. And we drive around in I call it a party bus. It would be what I would liken to like a bus you would take, for a prom trip or something, minus the seating. The seating's quite different. But bought a brand new Freightliner, seats 42, has a bathroom in it. Has 6 TV screens. We're able to watch film coming home. We're able to watch DVDs on the way down, reclining leather seats. It enforces the fact that these athletes are treated as good as possible. I've been riding the school bus for the past 15 years, and I promise you this thing's a far cry from a school bus. It was actually enjoyable. You could actually get some sleep when you're traveling because you're not sleeping on a school bus. You can try your hardest, but you're not going to get any sleep on a school bus. I promise you.
I knew Chris drove the softball team around as well, and I didn't know if he was doing the soccer team as well. I know Chris and his wife Carla. I've known them for several years, and you're in good hands with Chris as well. And you mentioned something. 30 kids on the team, plus you and the assistant, and of course Chris already said he didn't care. How do y'all decide on where to eat at?
We set out an itinerary prior to departure with pre-planned meal stops. We've come to the conclusion and I can't take credit for this. Courtney, she's the student advisor for all the athletes at Northeast. She sort of showed me the path on how to lay that out and how to deal with that. Of course, you got picky eaters, so the solution to that is you don't give them a choice. You say, "Hey, this is where," and of course, you got sure there's no allergies or anything of that nature. But we just pick a spot. We have it pre-planned. We usually call the restaurant in advance. Sit-down meals in the evenings are a little different because you got to call around, make sure they've got enough room to serve that capacity and with everybody seated together. But then a lot of it is, sandwich platters, party trays, that type stuff where you just bring it on the bus. And I promise there's very few complaints come from the athletes. They're just proud they're getting fed. So that's a positive for them.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like you did like my mom and dad did me when I was a kid. Either eat it or do without.
Yeah.
That is accurate. And it's really great because in high school, the poor kids would be about to bust a pipe. I got to go to the bathroom. And I can remember for years, Steve-O going, this bus is stopping when it's back at Fort Payne. Now,
That's awesome. Coach, we appreciate your time. Looking forward to seeing some games there at Northeast once you're able. And when is your first I know you don't know when your first game at Northeast is going to be, but when's your first game going to be at Fort Payne?
First home game is August 31st. So we travel to Meridian tomorrow. We'll come straight back home. Then we leave for Hines University or Hines Community College. We play on Friday. We play Holmes Community College on Saturday, and then we come home. We have our first home game on Sunday.
What time is that? In case people wants to go.
1 o'clock. 1 o'clock kickoff. Fort Payne Sports Complex against Oxford Emory out of Atlanta.
Emory, okay, awesome.
Well, it's Oxford Emory. It's sort of
Okay.
go. So looking forward to that game. I mean, I have really just been very fortunate, and the coaches that I've scheduled, they're all just extremely kind, helpful, always willing to, to help out or help plan or make sure everything's taken care of. And I'm looking forward to the day that we can reciprocate that, out at Northeast, certainly.
Well, you know what,
Well,
Coach?
Coach,
All these
I
other.
want to ask you about. I was going to ask you about, Coach Joe Guthrie talked about interest in the softball program was very good, probably more than expected. Is there a lot of buzz going on around the soccer program? Do you think you're going to be able to draw big crowds? Of course, recruiting locally helps that, but is there a lot of buzz about the soccer program?
We're excited. I can tell you historically, when you're at home, you usually bring good crowds. Dr. Campbell came up with a wonderful idea of leveling a grassy knoll area behind our bench at home that he's going to seed, and it's going to be a place for our home crowd to be able to lay out blankets and sit up there and sort of be above the field a little bit. And so I've not seen many things that Northeast doesn't put on that doesn't draw a crowd. So I'm looking forward to it being a big thing. And I told the boys this, though. I think it's just fascination. I think that you're going to have a crowd come out because they want to see you have fun, be successful. They want to see if you've created a good team. They want to see if it's all that. There's going to be some out there to just coming to see if you fall on your face. It's just the reality of it, right? So I welcome them all because I feel like, the more they get around, they see the culture that we're building, they see the positive reinforcement that we're giving. I think it's infectious in a positive manner, in a good way. So I invite all, certainly.
Well, I can tell you this, all of us at RiverCity-Media, and to me especially, is I want to see Northeast do well at all athletics because I went to school at Northeast, and the biggest game in town was card playing in the student center back when I went to Northeast. So it's changed a lot. So I want to see them be successful because, it's a lot of pride for the community.
Yeah. Well, and what's funny to me, there's different avenues and different roles and hats that you wear. And one of the hats is fundraising to some extent. And I was with a business earlier, and as I was talking to that business owner who's been a friend of mine for years, he's a great guy. He's helped us on a lot of our construction needs out there at Northeast. I don't even mind saying it, Builder Supply. George Weatherly, great guy. And as I was talking to him back and forth about potentially sponsoring or doing something, we were talking, and you know how you leave a room and you said, man, I wish I'd have said this. As many employees as he has, I promise you that if he were to gather them all together for a lunch and have them raise their hand at how many people that Northeast has affected, whether they spent a year out there, took classes out there, had, a parent go there, or that there would be at least 50% of the hands that would raise that they've been impacted by Northeast Alabama Community College. And I feel that deeply in my heart that would be the same across the board at any place you go into. Even if you went into a restaurant, in our community, and you said, how has anybody been affected in one way or another by Northeast Alabama Community College? I know both of my children went there and took classes. My wife got her associates there. it certainly has impacted my family. Three of the family members. So that's a 75% number. I've taken classes out there, so it's like you know I don't know what more they can do from a positive standpoint other than gifting and providing an area and an opportunity for whether it be fresh high schoolers, young adults, however, whatever, to go out and make their lives better.
Well, Coach, we're looking forward to having you back. Maybe the next time we can have a couple of players to join us and
Uh,
be able to talk to them.
we'll get in a better environment too versus me in this truck of mine. Maybe solid Wi-Fi or something.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And Coach, you said something about earlier, and I'll close on this. You said that all the other coaches have been very hospitable and been willing to help you out. Coach, you got to realize they've been in your shoes before. They know how it is. And so it's helping out someone else, even though you think that they may not be willing to. But they want to see y'all succeed too, because the better you get, the better it's going to make them down the road as well.
Yeah, it elevates the entire sport for sure.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, we appreciate it. Sorry about the technical difficulties. We're sorry that we kept you so long, but
No worries.
we're looking forward to seeing some of the stuff. So anybody that's watching right now, head down to the Fort Payne Sports Complex Sunday at 1:00 to catch Northeast Soccer play their unofficial first home game, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Against Oxford Emory or Emory Oxford.
Oxford Emory.
I had it right the first time. I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm tickled to death. I got something right for a change. And so go out and watch. Do you know ticket prices?
I don't think there are ticket prices. I think it's free entry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody can come out and just enjoy, hopefully a sunshine-filled day on the pitch. Hopefully so.
Oh, one last question. Your new stadium, is it going to be natural grass or the artificial stuff?
It's going to be turf. It's going to be artificial. It's going to be turf. Okay. For years, we want the ability to be able to play in inclement weather. As long as there's no lightning, obviously, this turf, it can catch a couple inches of rain and be playable in 10 minutes. So it makes life less cancellations, a lot less maintenance. We're used to training on it. I think that's going to be the best for our program.
Awesome. Good deal. So for RiverCity-Media, beyond the booth here, Phil Harris, I'm Howie Chaney, and our guest tonight was Coach Tom Shanklin of Northeast Alabama Community College soccer team. And go out and support them Sunday at 1:00. Admission's free, and if they don't let you in free, tell them that Coach said you can get in free anyway.
That's right. That's right. I appreciate you.
Hey, thank you, Coach, and good night, everybody.
Appreciate you.